toes in the sand. I think I got some wanderlust, but I don't give a damn. Touching down on the asphalt, passport.
7 footers, welcome back. Jarod and Jenna here.
We are back.
We are back, and I don't even know how we're going to keep this one together. As you guys know, the legendary icon Kobe Bryant has passed away at the age of 41. He was in a helicopter crash on January 26th, traveling to Thousand Oaks, California with his second eldest daughter, Gigi, who also perished in the crash. She was 13. We are going to dedicate this full episode to honoring his legacy, remembering him, sharing our thoughts, and covering the basics of, what we know right now about the situation. And we are not alone.
No, we're not. And, we wanted to have, guests more during the second half of the season. And it's unfortunate. This is the reason why we have these guests, but they're two people who know basketball really well, and I know that we'd have a good discussion around Kobe Bryant. So we have the co-host of Bill Roden on Sports Podcast. He writes for the Undefeated, friend of the show, in his return visit to the 7 Footers Podcast, Jamal Murphy. How you doing, Murph?
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And we have a new friend of the show. Here's a guy I've gotten to know over the couple years. He is the Yes Network's sideline reporter for the Brooklyn Nets. He is also a CBS reporter. He's an Emmy Award winner. He's a talented dude. The great Michael Grady. What's up, Mike?
My man, good to be on with you guys.
So happy to share the table with you boys.
Absolutely.
New friend of the show, old friend of the show.
Call me old.
Never,
I got a couple more years, man.
Never. Don't you worry. Well, boys, we need to, talk about this, and as hard as it may be, we owe it to Kobe to do this for him. And as we said, he passed away on January 26th. Him, along with his daughter Gianna and coach John Altobelli, his wife Carrie, and their daughter Alyssa, mother and daughter Sarah and Peyton Chester, Christina Mosser, and the pilot Ara Zobayan. I hope I'm not mispronouncing anybody's name incorrectly there. And we had the Lakers speak out. We had Magic, a slew of NBA stars, LeBron James, who was very close with him and who actually had one of the last conversations with Kobe. And we had Vanessa Bryant, who just changed her profile photo on Wednesday, January 29, to a photo of Kobe and Gigi. And she also put out a statement as well and thanked fans for their support and gave them a link to the foundation that they can go to. It was mambaon3.org.
Yep, to help support the families of the other victims. Yep.
Exactly, yes. And it's been a tragic heartbreak across the world. I don't think I have ever seen such a death impact the world in so many ways. So I know that I've definitely been having a hard time with this, as I'm sure you guys have, and our listeners and many NBA fans, even the casual NBA fan around the world, because Kobe was so much bigger than basketball. So let's get into a little bit here. Just where were you guys and what were you doing when this news dropped?
Go ahead, Murph.
I was sitting on the couch about to watch some college basketball, and I get a text, or I noticed I got a text, and it was from a friend of mine who sometimes the information could be a little sketchy from that person. So I get the text, I open it, and it's like it's a picture of the TMZ headline or whatever. So I'm looking at it, and I swear the first thing I thought was like, come on, this is fake. Like, this is not real. It didn't even look real because it was just a picture.
Right.
And I'm like, come on. So I get out of that text. But then I noticed I had 10 other texts. And I'm like, I didn't even click on one. I'm just looking, and it's Kobe, something, and I'm like, wow, this is true. So, of course, go to Twitter, start watching TV. I mean, it was just surreal. And then, hours later, you hear that his daughter was on the flight, on the helicopter also. And like you said, it's just, I've never experienced anything this big and shocking. We've had in my lifetime, and Michael Jackson and Prince is one I could compare, but they were older. Maybe
And they're musicians and that
yeah.
lifestyle, and not that you expect it, but
a little self-destructive, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was like, clean as a whistle.
Mm-hmm.
So you just didn't expect, and he was just in the news too.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just shocking.
What you, Grady?
I was getting ready for the Nets and Knicks, and I was like getting ready, and then I saw a text from my auntie. It was like a group family text, and it was like, Kobe, oh no, or something along those lines. And I started to break down right then. She's one that wouldn't just throw something like that out there. And I just immediately thought the worst, you know what I mean? So had to pull myself together, then making my way to the arena, and I'm in the Holland Tunnel. I'm not quite sure if the game is even going to get played. And then see the confirmation about Gigi, and it was another breakdown there in the Holland Tunnel. So, like you guys said, larger than basketball, larger than life, and knowing the people that I was going, as you know, Jarod, the guys were going to interact with in the locker room, the guys were going to be talking to, head coach, it's like the day got so heavy. So I was feeling things on a personal level, and then I knew I was going to have to communicate with these guys what they were experiencing, the whole shock of it all. So, yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah, because, obviously, the name everybody would think of first is Kyrie because of his closeness to Kobe. And obviously, Kenny talked about it in his pregame, and he was emotional. Spencer Dinwiddie is very close to Kobe as well. All those guys. KD. Does KD travel with the team? Okay, so KD doesn't travel, but KD's another one who's close to the team, right? So it's interacting with all those guys. And I know you talked to KD the day after practice in Brooklyn. And it's just crazy. Jenna, what about you? Where were you when you heard?
I had a Westchester game that night, so I wanted to go to a workout class early. I got out, went to grab a coffee. I was actually in line, and I got the TMZ alert on my phone, and I instantly just froze, and I actually put my hand over my mouth and just gasped, and people were looking at me. I don't even think I ordered. I think I stepped aside, opened my phone. I immediately had a thought that a lot of people had, there's no way. In your mind, Kobe he's
invincible.
a superhero.
Yeah.
He's invincible. Nothing can happen to him, right? I was like, there's no way this is true. Absolutely not. And then I was really waiting for some type of confirmation, ESPN or something like that. And eventually that came. And, like you guys just said, it was a heavy day. I spent the day, crying. It was somber. I had a Westchester Knicks game that night. We did the whole tribute, the 24-second clock violations, 8 seconds, and the crowd was silent. It was the weirdest game I've ever worked. It's a true tragedy.
It's surreal, right? That's sort of the vibe that I felt. For me, so I was in Paris for NBA Paris, and I back
called you
late Saturday night, and so Sunday, I'm up, you're trying to get back into the right time zone and get yourself together, whatever. And I got things to do, and it was funny because my cousin was with his family in Spain at the time. We overlapped while we were in Europe, and I was just texting him talking about this time. He goes, "Hey man, LeBron just passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list." He's like, he leads him in every statistical category. I'm like, yeah. He's like, Kobe stands on me mad about that. But you tell them rings 5, 3, and then we're just kind of just getting into our normal conversations about that. And my tweet deck is open, and I see Kobe didn't help. And I was like, my first thought was, y'all play too much on this internet. You got to stop. Right? I was, because I was annoyed. And then I was texting my cousin. I was about to go on a call. Jenna called, and I was like, not that you only call me, but when you call me, I know it's something important.
I have to talk.
It's either here's this really good news or some shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, man, come on. And then the Twitter just went, and I was like,
you couldn't escape it. It was
Kobe,
everywhere.
And it was like one Kobe, helicopter, daughter. And it's just, and you just, that's all that was going through my mind and my brain. And it's been now 4 days, right? Sunday, Monday, it's been 4 days since. And it's affected me in a way I didn't expect it to. Look, I've said it before. People listen to this podcast know, I'm not a Kobe guy, right? In terms of being a Kobe stan. However, I've always said and have much appreciation and respect for the work that he's put in. But this hit in a different way. And I've just been in a funk for the last 4 days, just being like, how can this be real? And it makes you really recognize, again, the shortness of life and all that. But what was so crazy to me was Grady, we just seen him at Brooklyn, less than a month ago. He came to that Atlanta Hawks game on Saturday with Gigi. They were sitting courtside. That's the famous game, of course, that's gone. The video's gone viral.
Yep.
And this is crazy, but I've just been seeing that video on loop. I've gone back to play it on loop just because I want to find some joy and to watch that joy, because you see he's obviously breaking down the nuances and finer points of the game to her. But the part that I don't know that many people see, she like cuts in because she actually has an affirmative like, it's this.
Right.
And he's like, yes. And like you see his eyes get so big, like
Yeah.
Right. And
she
she's
gets
so
it.
proud of herself.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she's like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, she's a student of, look, she probably understands the game better than like a lot of adults, right? Just because of like that,
No question.
that knowledge that was been passed down to her. And I think it's all that's kind of come together that makes you just feel like, yo, man, this is just not. And I'm not a father. Jenna, you don't have any kids. Michael, you don't have any kids either. Murph, I know you. I mean, when you heard that, how'd that hit you about the kids?
Man, I mean, you know, there's no words. There's no words to describe it. I mean, it's just terrible. It's terrible. That's all you can say. You know, and you got to feel, I mean, for Gigi, 13, I mean, she didn't have a chance to live, really. And then and her promise was ridiculous. I mean, I just watched a clip of her the other day crossing somebody up and with a fadeaway. I was like, wow, she was already talking about UConn.
Just like her dad, too. The footwork, the like.
The fadeaway. Yep.
And the bond between them. And you know, I was like you know, with Kobe. You know, I never liked him as a player. I always knew he was great. It was undeniable, his skills on the court. But I never liked him. I'm of the age I grew up watching Jordan, and I saw when Kobe was coming in. Kobe's a few years younger than me, a couple years younger than me. So I remember when Kobe came into the league, and you know, it was like, oh, he's trying to be like Jordan, even talks like Jordan. So it was like he kind of, you know, if you were around at that time, you might have felt, you know, some kind of way about him. He had the Mamba mentality. You know, he was very focused. You know. If you weren't a Laker fan, you probably were a Kobe hater. That's just the way it went. You know, but I mean, ever since he retired, you know, I've started to like the guy. Like I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, just everything, every little thing. You know, he started talking more to the media. He he started letting other people in, and you're talking about LeBron just passing him, and when he sent that tweet out to LeBron. I swear to you, I was when I saw that day, I was like, that's a really like grown up nice thing to like. I said to myself, I'm really starting to like this guy. You know, and then for the next day, for that to happen. So to me, I almost felt like, or I do feel like, his post career could have been just as good. As his playing career.
He won an Oscar a year into retirement. Who does that?
But the thing is, it was on its way to that. Everybody I keep seeing the words, his second chapter, which was, you know, post basketball. Think about the projects that we do and don't even know about that are currently in production, in the works, everything like that. The co-author of one of his children's books deleted the draft that they created together because he said it served no purpose anymore because of Kobe's death. I mean,
he had that tennis book about I mean,
he was a mentor. He was, you know, this was his time to be with his kids now. He was making up for lost time with them. And
he was speaking out on social issues. He spoke out in favor of Kaepernick. He said if he were around, he would kneel. He spoke out against Trump. He was doing all this social justice stuff. So he was becoming like, he was comfortable in his skin to the point where I don't think he was so comfortable in his skin as a player.
Right.
You know, that's not, to me, I almost thought about it like he was kind of like, when he was playing, kind of like a 40-year-old trapped in a 20-year-old body. Dealing with the NBA culture. And then once he's retired, he can just be himself. And like, oh, this is a real dude.
So I think what we're talking about, Grady, is evolution, right? Like, we got to see him evolve from a child, a teenager. He was 17. His parents had to sign his first pro contract because he wasn't old enough to sign it.
Yeah.
We saw him go from teenager to now man and family man.
That's why everybody had somewhat of a personal relationship with Kobe. I mean, to have him have the poster on your wall growing up for some folks, and to see him, as you mentioned, go through high school, those early years in the NBA, long NBA career, all with the Lakers. And we're talking about, the hate aspect of it, which is real. I grew up in Indiana, big Pacer fan, so I hated the Knicks, didn't like Michael Jordan, that whole thing.
Right.
Lakers beat the Pacers in 2000. But if you were a Laker fan, like everything that Kobe was about and everything that he brought to the game, like if he was on your team, we'd all stand for him. We'd all go crazy for him. We'd all be in that group that makes everybody else hate the guy. So when I look at his career and his growth, and he had missteps along the way, obviously, but what I would liken it to is I've got a 14-year-old stepson now, and a lot of question as to whether or not they should have played the games on Sunday. Some games had already started when the news had broke.
Yep.
I remember going into the Knicks game thinking, all right, maybe we'll feel better at the end. Maybe something will happen. There'll be this good moment, and we'll all say, okay, this is this was great. I felt worse at the end of the game. I thought it was terrible that the games were played, and I didn't feel better till I got home to my fiance and stepson, and was able to embrace them. And it certainly makes you think about family. It certainly makes you want to embrace your family. But the analogy that I'll give that you guys are alluding to. My mom would mess me up when I messed up as a kid. She, I got slapped in the face one time. I mean, if I acted up, she was all over me. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know that.
And my fiance thinks she's an angel. My stepson thinks she's an angel. Like, she's amazing. We hear these stories all the time. Like, grandmothers are like, they walk on water or whatever. It's like, wait a minute, this was not the same woman that raised me. And I think that a lot of guys, in talking to guys around the league and talking to Nets players and other guys, it's kind of like that with Kobe. Kobe would eat your heart. He would absolutely eat your heart. And then as he started to go toward the twilight of his career and then into retirement, it's like a completely different animal. So Kevin Durant was speaking of that. Other guys were speaking of that. Like, he would call me for advice. He would do this. I could call him for tips and things like that. And he's a completely different dude off the court than the killer he was on the court.
I think the big thing, what is so interesting about Kobe is this dude, and we've heard about it, and I'll get into this later, he was really an intellectually curious individual about everything. Right. Not just
always
basketball, everything. I mean, I love the question or the comment KD had yesterday. He's like, Kobe asking about how I come off this particular pin down to score. And KD's like, you're Kobe Bryant. Why are you asking me how I come off a pin down to score? But it doesn't matter because he sees the beauty and the value in everything. Oh, I like how KD does that. Let me see if I can take that into my game.
Right.
This dude in his retirement was like, all right, I'm going to become this media content creator. He's calling J.K. Rowling, Steven Spielberg, like what? All these people. So like, now let's pick your Deepak Chopra. Now let's just sit. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out. And I mean, smart is not even the word to use for him because that's almost doing him a disservice. Like, a level of thinker that is beyond what a lot of people realize. And again, it's because we often box these guys into categories of ball player, athlete, whatever. Listen, this dude, I'm the opinion, would have excelled in any freaking thing in life he wanted to do because his thing was, it's about the work. If I put in the work, I can master this thing. And as hard, as unbelievable it is to make this statement, he was getting there. He mastered the game of life. Like, it's hard to master the game of life, right?
Yeah.
Like, this dude mastered the game of life.
He is the reason, personally, why I actually believed that I could succeed in this career that we have. Because I remember when, I'll never forget, I declared my major. And my dad, actually, love him, but I could have punched him right in the face at the time. He actually, no joke, my dad was one of those tough guys. He was super strict. He was really mean growing up. He laughed in my face, and he told me, what is journalism going to do for you, this and that. And watching different things of Kobe actually gave me the drive to be like, you know what? Yeah, I can do this. And he had a quote that I can't find at the moment, but it went something along the lines like, somebody asked him once in an interview or something like, why don't you like people that don't work hard? And he was like, I don't dislike people who don't work hard. I dislike the fact that people want everything, but they don't want to work for it.
Right.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
he instilled that, and it goes hand in hand with the Mamba mentality and all of the mantras about working hard, putting in the work. And really, it came from him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's one special human being. You see the pictures of him getting shots up in the gym after a loss at 3 a.m. with the cast on, shooting with his other hand. I mean, those are the things that you think about, and his fearlessness and his competitiveness.
He said this. He's like, to anybody in whatever profession they're doing, if you're not obsessed with it and we don't speak the same language,
Right.
I don't. And that as we get into his legacy and playing career, that was at the heart of his beef with Shaq and why that was such a problem for them, because he would say to Shaq, if you worked half as hard as I did, you'd be the greatest player of all time. And that is a factual statement, because Shaquille O'Neal is arguably the greatest physical specimen we've ever seen in this league. You put him on a short with Wilt, him, right? Like, I mean, if you worked anywhere near the way I do, we'd be unstoppable. And they would have won probably 14 championships in a row. Ain't nobody doing a thing to stop them. Because, and that was the thing with Kobe, ain't nobody going to outwork me.
Right.
And it's more about, it's the mastery of it. And he just didn't understand how you didn't want this as much as I do. It doesn't compute. And that's how one-of-ones think, right? That's why they're so great. They can't comprehend. It doesn't have to be about sport, whatever you're doing in life, which is why he always seeks out the best people. How do you do? Oh, yeah, okay. Talk to me about this thing. Talk to me about that thing. The constant learning and craving and wanting to get better, but also embracing the failure. Knowing the failure is coming and being like, that's how I'm going to learn this thing.
Right.
That most people aren't wired that way, because we as human beings don't like to fail. No one likes to feel that feeling. He embraced that because he knew, oh, I'm going to learn now. I got this.
He was hungry all the time.
It's incredible. And, you know, I want to know for you guys, from a playing perspective, what's the thing you take away the most from Kobe Bryant's playing career, whether it be a moment, a season, whatever, a play that just you're like, it sticks out to you like, yo, this is this dude.
You want to go first?
Well, one I'll say in terms of my own appreciation for him. I was telling my TV partner Sarah Kustak this yesterday or 2 days ago, that probably the only time that I actually rooted for Kobe in a game was his last game. That's probably the only time I rooted for him. The respect came before then, though, and I think we're all at the age where we've seen a few generations now, and so I'm of that Jordan era myself. And so after Jordan retires, it's who's the next Jordan, right? And then Kobe comes along, and then Kobe stands and like, oh, it's Kobe. And so now I'm defending the guy that I grew up watching. Like, nah,
right.
nah, it's him.
It's not right.
There's
right.
no way.
Who we
There's no
hated
way
at
it's
the time.
Kobe. What's that?
Who we hated.
Who we hated at the time. All of a sudden, this dude that I hated, now all of a sudden I'm like defending to these Kobe people.
Yeah.
And then LeBron comes along.
And now you defending.
And then LeBron's like passing in the clutch and things like that. And they're like, LeBron is better. I'm like, wait a minute, he's not even with Kobe. And I find myself making the same argument like the dude that I hated. Yeah. Like I'm making an argument for him and his killer instinct and all those things and work ethic, that type of thing, and the guy that wants to rip your heart out, which is something that I identified with too. Some people grow up in. Everybody's different in terms of motivation.
Yep.
Some people, you pat on the back, you can do anything you want to do, then they go on to be president. Right. Me, I remember the slights. I remember in college where a professor went around first day and said, what do you guys want to be when you get out of school? And I said I wanted to be a broadcast professional in Indianapolis.
Like,
and this was a place 2 hours south from here. And the professor laughed and went, straight to the big time, huh? And then moved on to the next student. Like, I'm 36. I remember that. Yeah. And that's motivating. Like,
yeah.
guys like, people made fun of Jordan when he gave his Hall of Fame speech and was like, yeah, Russell, blah, 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 blah. Like, damn, Jordan's still like going at people. He retired. Kobe's got a little bit of that too, but Kobe I think Kobe saw Jordan's bitterness to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And I think
Didn't
Kobe
want
was
that.
like, nah, I'm going to go a completely different way, which I respect the hell out of that. So for me, it's the realizing the work that Kobe put in, the work ethic to be great, to have those moments that he had in his career. And I was talking to Lindsey Hunter on the radio the other day, and he worded it the best because I've mentioned it, but I haven't worded it like this. Kobe fell in love with the boredom of the game, to the point you were making earlier. Guys want to be in the NBA. They want to be hitting the shot. They want the accolades. But are they going to go in the gym at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning every day?
Right.
Are they going to put in the work that it takes to take advantage of those moments?
Exactly.
No. So Kobe fell in love with the boredom of the game when the lights were off, the cameras were off, and putting in this crazy work in the gym, and that's what I respect the most.
Yeah, no, I'm like you because I never. I don't think I ever. Rooted for even that last game, I probably shooting too much.
Yeah, I was like, shot efficiency not great that game. I don't really know. 50 shots.
50 attempts.
Our producer's laughing back there.
You know me, I'm an efficiency master. I love efficiency.
Yeah.
I was like,
So,
Oh, yeah, we know.
yeah, so I never rooted for him that I can remember, but
I am so sick
Yeah.
of you and your comments like this.
but I mean I totally respected his game.
Yeah, we
And the-
all do.
And the part,
yeah.
the biggest part was just the tenacity, the mental toughness. You knew. I mean, you knew that he was going to give you. You were in
Everything.
trouble. Like if you're playing against Kobe, you know he's going to get 50 on you. It's just it could happen. You knew that no player was going to break his will. My favorite play probably is the clip they always show, the highlight they always show of McGrady and him. When McGrady gets him, he falls. He's guarding McGrady. McGrady makes a move and he kind of falls. But then the next play he comes back, beats McGrady and dunks on like 3 dudes. Not to me it was like that's Kobe. Like, oh, you got me. Oh, you could never one up him. It wasn't going to happen. So that's what I like most about Kobe. I mean, the Mamba mentality is interesting.
You watch those words.
It is.
I see what you're trying to do.
But I'm just saying, it's interesting because the same people love it and hate it. And now, including me, I'm embracing it now. That's what made him great. But, people loved it and hated it. And, so the people, the Kobe haters would use that against him and say, oh, he's so selfish. Oh, he's going to, he has to be the man. Blah, blah, blah. But then you criticize LeBron or somebody for not having that.
Yeah.
LeBron is great, but
Right.
he's missing something.
Right.
It's the if he had the Mamba mentality,
Right.
he'd be
Yeah.
the best player
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
like a Shaq type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's a funny thing to me. How the same people love it and hate it.
And I think that's the thing about sports, right? It creates this dynamic where there has to be a winner and a loser, a hero and a villain, and that's just how our brains work in these binary forms. And we have to, and it's not, that isn't what it is. Like, it's more complex than that. And for me, for Kobe, what is so interesting, unless everyone knows, I'm an efficiency guy. So many times I'd be like, you are shooting the ball way too much. But for him, it was, okay, I know if I get to this spot, I trust myself that I'm going to make this shot. And I've said this numerous times on this podcast and on many others. He, in my opinion, is the greatest difficult shot taker and maker in the history of basketball. Like, he takes the most challenging shots and makes them at a better rate than anybody I've ever seen. Because hand in the face, don't matter. You're like, what are you doing? Like, this makes zero sense to me. And you contrast it with LeBron, right? And it's LeBron always makes the correct basketball play. He knows a wide open shot is a higher percentage shot to go in than me trying to take it with 4 dudes on me. That's just common sense in correct basketball. But Kobe isn't wired that way. His thing is, but I don't trust you to make the shot. I trust me. Because I know I put in 1 billion hours of work. Not only that, you don't know, I practiced this same shot falling out of bounds with 4 dudes on me and my eyes closed 1 million times. So I know I can make it.
Right.
I don't know you can make that
Yeah.
shot.
We've had, you know, we're in a group chat together, and we've had.
Yeah, I've been
these
trying to
Kobe
get in
arguments.
that for a
And like I
while.
said, I'm not a Kobe fan, and I've argued with you in favor of Kobe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because of because of that mentality. Like, you know, people dismiss it like, oh, you know, the scowl, and you make fun of the scowl.
Well, it's a ripping the jerseys to the side and the mean mugging.
But he
One of the
he was
greatest
able to
moments of my
use
life.
that and demoralize an opponent,
Yes.
which matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No,
You know,
it-
like
yeah.
that's a big deal.
Speaking of demoralizing an opponent, you know what we've been. No, I'm not making fun of Jarod. I would
I'm like,
love
here it
to.
comes. I'm like, here it comes.
No. I would love to take advantage of that moment, but Kobe's more important. So you know, with all of the somber coverage, also comes the memories and the laughing and celebrating him. And I've been hearing so many different stories from different players around the league in different situations, different times, different eras, but all the stories have a similar theme. Tracy McGrady was on the jump, and he was telling a story about Kobe, and he said that they were playing together once, and his trainer woke him up real early in the morning. He was like, "We gotta get in the gym. We gotta go get this work in." And one day prior, Tracy was talking about how he was gonna go in the gym and like do work and whatever, and Kobe was with him. So of course, Kobe, being the competitor that he is, runs down to the gym as early as he can, and he's sitting there waiting
Thought you was
for
coming to the gym.
Tracy. Yeah. So Tracy comes in, and he's like, I get down in this gym, and who the hell is standing there but Kobe Bryant 2 hours into his workout? And he's like, oh, you're up? Like, and they're and then they both ended up reminiscing on that moment, which they replayed on the jump, and they were laughing about it. And he was like, he knew that I was going to that gym. That's the only reason why he went, and that's a typical Kobe thing. Even Dwayne Wade shared a similar story, and it's just that was how he was wired. That was how he was built, and it wasn't in a malicious way. It was just in a, like, I can do anything
And it wasn't-
if I just put my mind to it, and
But
I'm
it wa-
going to be better than you.
But it was kind of in a malicious way. It was a mind game. He's playing with guys.
Oh, yeah, of
he's
course.
Like, oh, you say that?
Yeah.
Watch me mess with this dude.
Well, exactly. But
And-
I
and
meant
it's the
like,
competition.
It's a Jordan type thing.
Yeah. And now, going off of what you said too, it's now he's taken his platform, and I'm still speaking in the present tense. He did take his platform after basketball, and he used it in such a way to mentor guys, to share his knowledge with younger players. I have a quote up here because it describes him so well. He said at one point in time, "My dream is to be honored one day for inspiring the next generation of athletes." And he did that.
Yeah, he's done that.
He's done that, yeah. And it's incredible. It really is.
He's to see how many people were affected. I go back to that thing, a personal relationship, where
And you're right.
some guys didn't even have a conversation with Kobe, but it hit them in such a profound and a very deep way because everybody felt like they had a personal relationship where it's emulating him on the basketball court, putting up shots, motivation through school, through work, whatever it might be. There was something that people, whether they wanted to admit it or not, plucked from Kobe, and that relationship felt really, really personal. So I can't get past some of the stuff was like showmanship, and some of it was when he was playing was that's just what he did.
Yeah.
Another similar story was the Olympics, the Redeem team. Very first practice they had, I think it was like an 8 a.m. practice. LeBron, feeling like he was like the leader on the team, was going to get in there at 6 a.m. He gets there and Kobe's already soaking wet. And LeBron admitted, he's like, up to this point, I thought I worked hard, but I really don't work hard, after seeing what Kobe was doing. And it wasn't just a one-day thing. This was like his
Every day.
lifestyle. That's
Yep.
what he did each and every day. Jay Williams told a great mind game story when it was shooting around before the game. We're out there and seeing the guys like put up shots and things like that. So Jay Williams goes out there. Kobe's already out there putting up shots. So Jay is doing his routine, stand, and then he can't help but look over his shoulder, and Kobe's still doing his routine. Like, we see guys out there, they may be out there like
10, 12 minutes.
15 minutes, whatever,
Yeah.
And then they go back to the locker room, get a massage, whatever. Jay's still looking over his shoulder like he's still putting up. Okay, Jay, I'm gonna hang out here a little bit longer. He's looking back, Kobe's still putting up shots. Finally, Jay's like, okay, I got to wrap up. And he sits down, to just watch Kobe, see how much longer he stays out there. And Kobe may have stood out there like 15, 20 more minutes. And Jay was like, I got to talk to this dude after the game. I got to talk to him after the game. So they get crushed. Kobe has a monster game. And he walks up to Kobe and was like, bro, why'd you stay out there shooting like that? And Kobe said, I wasn't going to let you get an edge on me at all. Like, I wanted to let you know, like, you weren't going to outwork me from the jump.
Right.
And I'm just like watching, like, damn, it's shoot around, bro. Like, it's like not even, you just,
not even practice.
like, it's warming up.
We got a game to play after.
It's just warming up. So when I talk to like students or something like that, and like broadcast students who want to do, be in the business or whatnot, and I illustrate it. It's like, this is one classroom. There's a college down the road. There's another university down this way. Right. There's broadcast students there too. Around the country, there's classrooms of broadcast students. Like, what is really going to separate you from the person next to you, from the person on that campus, whatever it may be? And I know that students get mad. I'm sure I would have been too, hearing hard work. Oh, yeah, right, hard work. That's what it is.
That is
that's
the
like
formula.
It's not. It
though.
is like literally that's it.
Like there it is.
So Kobe, like literally, is 4:30 in the morning. I'm waiting, putting up shots, and we don't. We could see another Kobe. We could see another guy if they're willing to put in
the work,
that kind of work. But not everybody is.
No.
Not everybody is.
And that's why this is. That's why he's so special now, and we see it now. Because some kids are going to see, they are going to try to emulate Kobe.
Yep.
They are going to hear these
more
stories.
than ever.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're already there. I mean, all these guys that are playing now that are affected.
Yes.
Was surprising. I mean, young guys like Trey Young.
Oh yeah.
All the rookie guys who were like, idolizing him. But what are you idolizing? You're idolizing the work ethic. You're idolizing, the mentality.
He is this group of. He's their Jordan. This is their Jordan.
Yep.
They didn't see Michael Jordan play basketball. Right. Yeah, they can go on YouTube and watch highlights, and they know the mythical, and they know about the sneakers and all that. Mm-hmm. They didn't see it.
Right.
I mean, Trey Young was born in, 1990-something?
Hey.
But I do. You mentioned Jordan. I do think we have to give Michael Jordan credit here, too, because that's the person who Kobe was trying to reach for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the person who was playing mind games with him, who taught him some of those mind games. Mm-hmm. So you had, and Jordan worked his ass off too.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
I think for me, the big look. Again, I've said this before. Kobe, all-time great, top 10 player of all time. He isn't Jordan. Jordan's still better. I don't. He's not in that type 5 conversation. However,
it's weird.
However,
I think that's an opinion.
I mean, most people who objectively watch basketball will agree with that statement.
Huh,
I don't know.
Interesting. Did you talk to most people?
I've heard people put him in top 3 like recently.
Yeah, Kobe stands. You mean? Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know they were Kobe stands.
Who they got him with? They got him better than Kareem?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. See, once they go there, I'm like, I can't.
Have you talked to all these people? These
Listen,
Kareem, Jordan, LeBron. Who else?
Magic, I put in.
Magic, I put ahead of him too.
Well, and I'm talking about guys
Magic
who played
called
like
Kobe the greatest Laker of all time.
12-year, 10-year plus career in that prime. Now, if you want to go, obviously Kobe played
the longevity.
But I look at it like guys, and I have to go by guys who I saw personally. Because I don't know.
Listen, man,
I didn't see Wilt.
I've watched some Wilt. Listen, you can't tell me this. I watched some Wilt stuff, and I'm like, you want to tell me he's a better basketball player than that dude? Nah, nah.
I don't. I feel different. I feel like if Wilt was in this generation, Andre Drummond would have something for him. Like that's what I feel. Yeah, I feel like he played.
Talk that talk.
I feel like Wilt played at a time where there were dudes.
Bro. I think he's too soft for. See, I don't think you can tell how strong Wilt was. Like Wilt was strong,
and Wilt was strong, but he also played around a lot of 6'8".
Also true.
All due respect, white guys who didn't have their athleticism, strength. You know what I mean?
But he couldn't. You couldn't ask him to do more, right?
I mean,
he had like 50.
I mean,
true. He averaged
25 rebounds.
Yeah, 50 and 25 for a season. That season he had 100.
He just had 20.
Like the numbers were ridiculous, right? As the generations come along, and we see, like not just 3 dudes in the NBA who can match Wilt's size, but even in the 90s, several dudes.
Right.
So yes, I look at that a little bit differently.
Better than Wilt Chamberlain?
The fact that you wouldn't have to deal with Olajuwon, had to deal with David Robinson, had to deal with a whole bunch of other dudes in the league.
But you got to
makes me look at it.
I agree with you, but I think you also have to look at it like if he were
Yes.
he would be now what he was then, like in terms of ahead of everybody. You know,
Right.
like his athleticism
Yes.
dwarfed everybody else's,
Yes.
right? So maybe would do that now.
Right.
I don't.
Maybe not to the same level.
See, for
To
me,
me,
Don't let them tear you down. Stay
No,
strong.
no.
Stay strong. Don't
These
let
are
them
all-
come for you.
These are all fair arguments.
Right.
The reason I knocked him down just a little bit was because of
The era he
and
played
again,
in.
and again. To say this,
Right.
say that a dude is sixth best all time,
Yeah,
or
it's
fifth
not- it's not
best
a
all
slight.
time,
Right.
like as long
That's
as the
right.
league been around,
It's
know,
not a
come
slight,
on.
which is
So,
why
yeah,
saying Kobe's
but
top
that's
10 is
just
not a
me.
slight. That's not a slight.
And also Wilt, I put Wilt down a little. Just you go off historical
'Cause of
stats.
championships.
Yeah, he didn't really get it done. To
And then what do you do with a guy like Bill Russell?
He did get it.
What do you do with a guy like Oscar Robertson, right?
And then, and look at you have to go by what happened in Kobe's career too, right? He had one MVP. I mean, I know it's a vote. I know it's a vote.
what
It's
it is.
subjective, but that's what happened. He had one MVP. Three of his championships were with Shaq, who
was the dominant player
was
in the
the MVP in the finals those three times.
Yeah, Kobe had made some plays, and I saw it
He did.
firsthand. It was a game
you're
where
an Indiana
Shaq,
fan.
Yeah, it was a game where Shaq
fouled out,
fouled
Kobe-
out, and Kobe
Kobe
like
cooked
went next
y'all.
level. So
Cooked y'all.
it's definitely to play with Shaq was ridiculous, but Will Russell played with Havlicek, Bob
Right,
Cousy,
but
like
you're
he played with Bees.
I mean, my thing is
Wilt's season he played with Jerry.
the real argument for me is in his era. To me, he had Duncan in his era, and if people,
I think I put him over Duncan.
if people want to put him over Duncan,
Barely, though.
they
We will.
can. I mean, I don't, and the numbers
That's fair.
support me, right? Like they just do. Like if your whole point is to win basketball games and in fact winning on both ends of the floor, Duncan is statistically better in all of those categories, right? Like more MVPs, more all defense, more all NBA. I mean, and Bob Ryan, the great Bob Ryan, always does this. He's like, man, we got to put centers in different categories because it's too hard, right?
And it's harder for people to relate.
Right, because big dudes have an unfair advantage because they're tall, right? But I'm like, we shouldn't penalize them because they're tall. It's not their fault. Like Kareem gets overlooked because it's not his fault. He's 7'2".
All centers get overlooked.
Like that's
Shaq,
sorry.
Shaq gets overlooked.
The rim is 10 feet above the ground. It helps that you're 7 feet tall. Like I
People
don't.
hate on LeBron the same way. 6'8", 250.
It's not his fault. He's that big. Like that's just what it is. But all that being said, he's phenomenal. I think one of the things that is difficult and that Kobe struggles with, which is why it's hard for his stands, he is always on the opposite end of an argument against someone who you're like, oh, he ain't better than that dude, right? It's the Jordan thing first. Whoops, he ain't better than him. Okay. In his feud on his own team, well, I'm taking Shaq. Oh, he had that. And when LeBron comes on, oh, well, LeBron's here. I'm not. He's always up against everybody. Always. He never has a moment where it's like just him. He always has to fight somebody.
Well, the two championships he won. Those 2 years he won the
Well,
championship.
LeBron
with
was in the
Pau
league
Gasol.
then, and that 48-point against Detroit, and he was taking those grub teams to the finals. Like,
Shaq was an absolute monster. But the point that if Shaq had put in work, he could have been the greatest of all time. Drops him notches, in my opinion, from me.
I
And I
agree.
For me
think a
personally.
lot of people feel that way.
So
I
that's
agree.
why I put Kobe ahead
put
of
Kobe over
Shaq.
Shaq.
Longevity, playing at a high level.
Same.
Shaq's last handful of years in the league, he was the Hamburglar. He was just wearing, you know what I mean?
called him
Wearing different jerseys. You know what I'm saying? In his prime, nobody could mess with him. But his last few years,
Spencer, we got to cut that out, and that's a drop. This last few years, he's the Hamburglar. That thing is.
That was incredible.
Woo!
That was
Grady?
good stuff right
That's-
there. You can come back here any week if
He
you come back
called
with
him
an
the
insult for
Hamburglar.
Jarod. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness! Wow. No, listen, I'm with you guys on that, and that's why we have these conversations in these debates. They're fun. And it's why we love doing it.
Yeah.
But it's undeniable what the man accomplished. 20 years at one franchise,
That's insane too.
Yeah.
For real.
The
I don't
longevity-
think enough people talk about that.
and that's why. And this is interesting. I think for many Laker fans, why they consider him the greatest Laker of all time is because of that longevity. Yes, Magic played all his career with one team, but didn't play as long as Kobe. Only played 12 seasons. Kobe played 20, right? Kareem was the better player, right? But he played his first 8 years of his career in Milwaukee, right? So,
Yeah.
he achieved a lot of stuff in L.A., but he also had that in Milwaukee. Kobe did it all in L.A. And the other thing, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention just because it's part of his legacy, they went through everything with him, the ups and the downs. And that 2003 Colorado thing was a down thing, right? He was going back and forth, flying from Colorado, coming to games, dropping 50, and that Mamba mentality that his stands embrace and love so much, that was born out of that 2003 trial.
Yeah, he gave himself that nickname during that period.
Yes.
And is that when he changed his number? Also coming back after
I think either the year after or two is when he switched over and changed to accept that new persona. And look, and there was that Washington Post reporter who got suspended and reinstated. There's a lot of stuff. And we have a thing in this country where when someone dies, we mythologize them, and that's all fair. You want to always talk well about someone, but you have to be honest. And that thing did happen, right? There was a settlement. There was money paid. There was an apology by Kobe. He didn't admit guilt, but he went as far as to say, I understand where she's coming from, and didn't see that it was a consensual act. I don't agree, but I hear her point. Someone made a credible claim against him for sexual assault. That actually happened.
But you mentioned the apology, and I just want to say, like he did. He said that I did not. I still don't. I did not feel like I felt like it was consensual.
Right.
But now, after seeing her testimony, I see that it was not, and that's most people would never say that. So I mean that does speak to his character.
It does.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Short story. I was talking to youth back before I left came to Brooklyn, and there was a young man who was like all about this thug life or whatever, and I was asking him why wouldn't he change or turn things around or whatever. He's a good kid, bright kid, all that, and I'll never forget. He said, everybody thinks I'm a thug anyway, so it's just I'm gonna play the part.
Right.
It's easy for me to just play the part. He got in an altercation with his girlfriend years later and killed her and himself.
Wow.
Heavy. I have always been a big proponent. Now, that's deep. I've always been a big fan of people who there's a narrative about them, but then they find the strength to change that narrative. It is easy to go, oh, people think this of me, so
I'm going to just do that.
I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to play this role. Right. He went from that situation where I've heard some people in a disrespectful way just throw it out as just slander, like, it's part of it just to, just to, go at him or whatever, even in his passing. I don't, shy away from that story.
Right.
But what I love is the redemptive power and turning things around. He went from that situation to in his passing. I mean, they were damn near the Huxtables.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
WNBA.
All those things.
Sports.
Like he's the model dad, like and genuine in that regard. Good husband, father figure, role model, all those types of things. That takes a lot of strength and courage to go, I made this mistake, but you know what? I'm going to put my energy and invest my time towards changing this narrative because that's who I really want to be.
Right,
the quote he had in a piece that Ramona Shelburne of ESPN did with him, and she said she got really close with him towards the end of his career and in post-retirement. And she said to Kobe, look, I'm going to go at you in this interview. And she felt like he respected that, right? I'm going to ask you the tough questions about Colorado, and he can't go into details because of the NDA, but we're going to talk around that. He said, you have to understand the fact that we're human. We all say shit that we shouldn't say. We all do things we shouldn't do. We're all angels. We're all devils. How are you going to understand that other than to understand the fact that we're all of those things? And here was a man who was just he understood the complexities of life and would not allow himself to be defined by this thing, right? That something happened, right? We don't know what, but a thing happened. And in that piece, I mean, he talked about it. Vanessa had filed divorce papers in 2011. The stuff was already drawn up, and she threw his clothes out in the street like it was, man, we ain't having this. And part of that was like, he's like, I might lose my family because of a situation I put myself in. Well, I ain't gonna lose basketball too. And that sort of mindset to be able to compartmentalize and do that and shift, and then also evolve as a man and to become the better husband, father, all those things that we are seeing late in his career and we saw up until his death. I mean, that is just to have that kind of fortitude. That is, I mean, that would end most people. Be like, it's a wrap.
Especially in the public eye
Like I
with
said,
all of that.
It's part of his story. It's not. It's part of his eulogy. It's there. It happened. So I don't. My only thing was I really don't understand the need to throw that in there with
As
that,
an accusation.
with the ferocity at the moment.
Yes.
Within hours of
Yeah.
him passing. I mean, people have agendas, and agendas aren't always bad. Like,
Yes.
Agendas, are necessary
Yes.
sometimes. But I think you need to understand the context and allow some people to grieve. I mean, people have families. Nobody will want the worst thing they did in their life brought up, minutes or hours after their death.
Yeah, and the thing is, I want to applaud all of you, especially you, Jarod, because you did most of the explanation on that, for the way that you handled that, because there is a way to handle it. And going off of what you just said, it was gut-wrenching to see how some people covered this, some people that I even know, and so on. There's a way to go about it, and like you said, yes, it's part of his story. We cannot shy away from it. He's a public figure. The information is out there, but there is a certain way to report the news, and the way we just, reported it, yes, we acknowledge it, but we also acknowledge it was wrong. It was a bad thing, but this man came out and he spoke about it. It's not like he tried to cover it up. You know what I mean? And things like that. And the piece with Ramona.
Yep.
He evolved as a man. He, I'm not going to say the term paid his dues, but he did what he had to do.
We are not, the sum total of our lives is not our worst moment, right? That's not who we all are. And, yes, that was a bad moment, and we know all the stats about sexual assault accusers and the low percentage. It is less than 10% make it up. Right? That's not
Right. No one's saying that.
That's not right. That's not a thing. But again, the fact that he was able to overcome, rise again, right? The rise, the fall, the rise, and come back. Because everyone except for Nike dropped him, right? And then to bring it all back up and to salvage his family, right? I mean, Vanessa was well within her right to be like, I'm out. Easy. But to salvage that, keep their love going, and have 3 more children after that. Like, I mean, that's a testament to a man who was willing to fight and work, and that's that same mentality he took to everything, right? It's okay. I gotta make this right. How do I do this? And there's lessons to be learned in overcoming and getting yourself back up to the top of the mountain. It's incredible.
I just got a notification. Rob Pelinka put out a statement.
Lakers president
and Gigi's godfather.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He said in part that what was it? I was just reading it. He said a deep part of his soul was amputated on Sunday. It's a lengthy statement.
Rob was Kobe's best friend for a long time, and that was his agent.
He said, I lost my best friend. He went on to honor Kobe and brought up the girl dad trend that was brought up, and he wrote a whole separate thing about Gigi as well. So that's definitely worth reading.
It's tough times out there. Look, I want to give everybody a couple seconds to say what they want, quick close the floor, and then we'll wrap.
You guys can start, our special guest.
No, I mean, I think we've covered everything. I mean, like I said, the big thing for me is just the sadness that, I was just starting to like the guy, like really.
Well,
like,
it's very unfortunate for you. I've liked him my whole life.
but genuinely, you know what I'm saying? Not like, I hated him and now he's okay.
Don't worry, I'll give you a couple books.
But actually, like real, like listening to what he had to say. Saying the other day that a couple WNBA players could play in the league. Seeing with his daughters, the way he dealt with LeBron. Even the embraces they would have at the games. It wasn't what I had in my head that he would be like.
He
as
embraced the younger generation in a way only he and AI do it. Right. All the old heads hate on these guys.
Yep.
All of them do. And I have no problem saying that because it's true, right? Like the way the way Chuck talks about them on Inside, they all hate on these guys. Kobe's like, nah, man. He gives these guys their props.
And you've touched on this. Just think what the next 20 years could have been. I mean, he already won an Oscar.
Already?
Right.
Who even does that? What? Like,
I actually went to the premiere of Dear Basketball at Tribeca
As
Film
did I.
Festival, and I cried my eyes out for that 5 minutes. Oh my gosh!
oh, don't worry. I got something on that coming up.
It was art.
No. I think I've said it 3 times already. Just that personal relationship thing, and I'm just one who's, I'm happy to be where I'm at and doing what I'm doing. I've, more goals and things that I want to do. But Kobe was a big time inspiration, and single parent household, that whole thing, and just feeling like going from Indiana to New York. I just feel like you're not supposed to be here. And there's that for all of us, there's that extra something that pushes you and keeps you going. And Kobe was a big, even though I didn't want him to beat my teams, I didn't care for him that much. Man, I just respected his mentality and his approach and his work ethic and the way that he attacked things and that screw everybody mentality. Like nobody may believe in me, but if I believe in me, that's enough. I gotta have all these doubters, but if I believe in me, that's enough. And so, people like that are like a beacon for me. And so I feel like I lost a big part of me to the point where I can't see, we'll all move on, but I can't see really getting over it. You know what I mean? Because that's just these, and why it was just so hard to fathom in the aftermath of everything. Because I had real irrational thoughts like, oh no, he's gonna climb out of that. Or whether he's gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh no, he's gonna,
he's gonna rip open the helicopter.
No,
It'll be fine.
like,
It's fine.
Superhero is next level.
All
good. So my hope is what you mentioned earlier, that the generation and the way people are talking about him, and it's going to, that inspiration is going to, those that he may not have reached yet, they get touched. Those that he had reached, they take it next level, and that's my hope in the aftermath of all this.
Before we get to you, Jenna, Murph, and Grady, thanks for joining us. Where can people find you in the social media streets?
Twitter at Blackatologist, Jamal Murphy, search for me. Instagram.
That's a dope name.
It's one of my favorite handles.
Of course, Bill Roden on Sports, the legendary Bill Roden.
Yes.
Check out Bill Roden on Sports podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Grady, where can people find you?
Very boring. At Grady on Twitter. At Grady on Twitter. Grady was taken on Instagram, so it's the Michael Grady on Instagram. And you obviously catch Yes Network broadcasts, for each Brooklyn Nets game, and then
Appreciate you, Jenna.
Love the work that you both do. I mean, I honestly could do a whole season on Kobe, but honestly, I'm still processing it. I still don't believe it. It's just crazy. But I'm going to miss the work ethic. There is no one out there like him. And now reflecting on it, I just think about the what if, what was yet to come. So many things, like I said, that we don't even know he was probably doing. Just different things like that. I mean, he truly was the only man I ever idolized besides my father, even though he laughed in my face when I wanted to be a journalist. But he was a stellar human being, and I unfortunately never got the chance to meet him. I was only in the room with him probably 3 times before, but just the fact that one human being, this is what I'm currently wrapping my head around too, one human being has actually shifted the world. He really has. I have never seen anything like this in my life. As long as I've covered, celebrity, athletes, everything. I was telling somebody this the other day. This one hit different. Like Prince's death and Michael Jackson. I didn't
You're young. You don't know them.
like I mean, like
But
this.
and they were older.
Yeah, like this just really hit a different way. This was not supposed to happen. Like it just wasn't. I know everything happens for a reason, and when it's your time, it's your time. But I just cannot accept it. I don't know.
And the suddenness, I mean, it was like poof.
And he just had, what is really eerie about these things in this social media age is like, I went onto his Instagram hours ago was the post timing underneath. Like
crazy.
He was just
that's the thing that
like,
social media allows you to see that.
active.
You're like, it's eerie, right?
Yeah,
man.
And I just think about, we talk about it like this, but Vanessa and the girls, I mean, geez, like
she spent her entire adult life being Mrs. Kobe Bryant. She was 18 when they got married.
Right.
Held him down.
That is
held him down through everything, and the girls, and
to lose loves like that. That's I don't even.
It's just I don't even know. I don't have words. I really don't.
Well said. I'm gonna leave you guys with something, but 7footers podcast. You know where to find us: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, at JS Hector, at John Lemon Sully. We appreciate everyone who listens, but I'm gonna leave you with this. The world lost a superstar, a global icon, a man that transcended and lived in rarefied air. Kobe Bean Bryant was born in August of 1978, just 3 months before me, and it's there where my feelings about Kobe are rooted. I didn't know him, but what I've come to realize is I wanted to know him, more specifically that thing inside him. The first time the name Kobe Bryant entered my consciousness was 1995. Friends of mine in high school were talking about an upcoming AAU tournament where Stephon Marbury, Shaheen Holloway, and God Shamgod were going to be playing, and they asked if I wanted to go. I'll think about it, I said, which is my way of saying no. It dominated talk that day amongst our various interconnected groups, and as memory serves, I remember one of my friends asking if that kid Kobe was going to be at this tournament. Who? I said with equal parts annoyance and incredulity. Never heard of him. We're talking about Marbury, Holloway, and Shamgod. These are the dudes. But by 1996, our senior year of high school, Kobe had become that dude. I remember more buzz generating about that Kobe kid. He had just won the state title earlier in the year, and stories were leaking about how he played college athletes and pros and would beat them one-on-one. This is the early online era where you had a CD-ROM disc for CompuServe or AOL, so the rumors were still mainly word of mouth. That's like a telephone game. Word got out Kobe was making an announcement where he was going to play next season. Not uncommon back then. It was all the rage. The year before, Kevin Garnett, a 6'11 big from Farragut Academy, declared straight for the NBA. There was no way this Kobe guy would do it. After all, he was a perimeter player, only 6'6". There was no way he could compete against the prototypes in the league, in the NBA. Sure enough, on that spring day, with his sunglasses perched atop his head and his oversized suit, Bryant, with all the confidence, temerity, and swag that would eventually be the defining characteristics of his career, but were brimming in a 17-year-old who thinks he's grown, announced he was taking his talents to the NBA. I was appalled, aghast, even offended at his audacity. How dare this kid think he could play in the NBA? You're my age, I thought. Besides, back then, all we had in common were we were both black, we had a penchant for ball heads, we're both moderately handsome dudes. But that's where our similarities ended. Bryant was everything I wanted to be. Not as an athlete, certainly. That was never in the cards for me. But from a confidence and self-belief perspective, I was envious of his ability to have that much confidence in himself. From riding the bench and receiving DNP CDs early in his career, to the air balls against the Utah Jazz in the 97 playoffs, to his first All-Star game in 1998 when he got the opportunity as a 19-year-old Padawan learner to go up against his idol, the Jedi Master Michael Jordan. You saw it in his eyes. He wanted to guard Michael. And even after Michael scored point after point on him, you knew he was learning. He was never deterred. He didn't have it coined back then, but the Mamba mentality was always in him. Not the ball-hogging, chucker, gunner traits that I deride his stands for. The unwavering belief that if I put in the work, I will master this craft and become the best player. As his career blossomed, I went from appalled and aghast at a contemporary, if only in age, to begrudging respect, to appreciation, and finally to marvel. But it's not about basketball. What's more impressive is who he became as he evolved, using that Mamba mentality to become the best version of himself. From brash teen to cocky young adult to petulant teammate, to champion, to vilified, to champion again, and the league's elder statesman in the end. We met in 2017 on the red carpet at the 2017 Tribeca Film Festival. And he introduced me to his wife, Vanessa, eldest daughter, Natalia, and at the time, his middle daughter, Gianna, a.k.a. Gigi. He was debuting Dear Basketball, his love letter to the game, which he won an Oscar for the following year. I asked him, why animation to tell this story? He said, when drawing by hand, you get to see all the imperfections. It's like building anything. The perfection comes from the imperfections and the mistakes that you make. And there were a lot of mistakes made, but he, more than any person or athlete I've ever met, had a keen understanding of the process and the journey as the thing that matters. The world lost a superstar. Vanessa Bryant lost a husband and a daughter. Natalia Bryant, Bianca, and Capri lost a father and a sister. We know Kobe was going to be great in the second act. And if you believe what has been written, said, and if you ever observed her, Gigi was her father's daughter and destined for greatness too. Their family, friends, and loved ones were robbed of that. Rest in peace, Kobe and Gianna Bryant.
Stuff.